Hello, welcome everybody to the final credits. I'm here. I'm Johnny64. I'm here with Big Grim, Joey Pancakes, aka Pancakes, and Mike Spade, aka Spade. Today we are talking about the recent news. Justin Roiland, who most of you probably know as the co-creator of Rick and Morty, is no longer with Cartoon Network. They recently cut ties with him because of his allegations of domestic abuse and a few other crimes, it seems. I think there's a lot that people can say about him who know him. So I'll leave it to the rest of the panel here. What's everybody's thoughts on this? So much.
Yeah.
So who's going, me or you?
I'll go first.
Go for it.
So, okay. Basically, it's terrible. I've personally never been a fan of Rick and Morty or any of the projects that this guy has been a part of. Yes, my God, I'm one of the 1%. Who knew? I don't enjoy the fact that, like, oh, well, just because you're smart gives you the right to be a complete and total asshole and not give a shit about anyone or anything. Not a fan of that. Don't really give a shit. Kind of toxic as fuck. So, also going along with that, because look up the clip. It's out there. Maybe not out there now, but look it up. You'll find it. If you have to get drunk to get into character, and it's not even like, oh, it's method acting. It's like you're in a freaking VO booth, man. Come on, you gotta get drunk to get into character for a drunken asshole, brother. You really don't have all that much talent. I said it. Not a fan. Out of here with this.
I mean, I was never like the biggest fan of Rick and Morty either, or maybe only seen like 3 or 4 episodes. And I've seen that video that you're talking about, Graham, where it shows him drunk at the sound booth. Which is why for those who probably haven't seen Rick and Morty, the older character Rick, he randomly constantly burps throughout the episodes, and that is really because of Justin Roiland being drunk on set as he's recording the voices. So he lets all that out while he's recording. So that's actually him being drunk, and they just work that into the character of Rick. Mm-hmm. Just to give some perspective into the type of person he is when it comes to doing his work. But Spade, I know you had something to say too. you were ready to go.
All right, so here's how I see it. I'm also part of the 1%, like Big Grim. Look, I watched a few episodes. It wasn't for me. I get it, but I don't find it as hysterical and as clever as everyone makes it out to seem, right?
According to Reddit, our IQ is not high enough for this.
Yeah, apparently so. I mean, whatever.
It's only for big brain people only.
Right.
Yeah.
So So all right. So according to the New York Times, right, it says here that Roiland faces 1 felony count of domestic battery with corporal injury and 1 felony count of false imprisonment by menace, violence, fraud, and or deceit against an unnamed woman he was dating in 2020. You know what this tells me? This tells me that she is an ex-girlfriend who was scorned that day, who got pissed off. This is what happened. Ready? They were having some fun and they were drunk or high or who knows what they were doing. They were probably into BDSM or something like that. And guess what? She got upset. She got pissed off at him, or he got upset at her, and it took it a little too far. And this is the situation we're in. I think that's really what happened. I think that they both got pissed off at each other. They were having fun. Everything was great. But when you mix alcohol with drugs or whatever, maybe it was just alcohol. Who knows? But the point is that they were intoxicated, right? So things went a little too far. Now, that's my opinion. I could be way off, but I mean, people should get charged for what they are doing. So Whether it was done on purpose or by accident, charge the person, and the jury's going to say whether he was guilty or not. That's all I have to say.
I say Cartoon Network, Hulu, they made the right move. I mean, you cannot, if they kept him on, even if he's the co-creator and the voice actors of the two main characters, I mean, the show's become bigger than him, where it could continue. And you cannot support any case of domestic violence. It's just it's just a touchy subject, but there's definitely, even though we don't know all the details of the case, there's no video, there's no photos, but it's serious enough where something happened to this poor woman and this bad behavior. Yes, maybe it's one bad night, but it's still serious enough. But by keeping him on board those projects, you can't. It would have been a nightmare, and it would have been a bad setting to condone domestic violence. So he had to go. I mean, unlike what happened with Dana White and the UFC, that was caught on camera for the world to see, where he got into an unfortunate incident with his wife, and nothing seems to be happening to him.
Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, same thing.
I was gonna make that comparison, but I feel like it's not exactly the same thing.
I mean, I'm sure none of them took a shit on somebody's head.
Yeah.
But
listen, we don't know that.
Right,
That's
exactly.
the sad
We
part.
were, listen, I could tell you this much though: the four of us were not in that room when it happened, so we have no idea. So anything that we
There's the one
say
guarantee.
is pure speculation.
Mhm.
But we should make it clear: the four of us do not condone domestic violence. So,
100%.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Of course not. But yeah, no, I mean, Cartoon Network obviously did the right thing. They
Yeah.
you know, end of the day, they have a business to run. They do not need any more negative PR than they probably already do when it comes to the quality of their programming at the moment. But you know, they don't need another reason for people to stop watching their channel. You know, like they can't afford to at this point.
I mean, WB can't do much more, right? I mean,
Yeah, and remember, yeah, we're just coming off of the news from a few months ago that Cartoon Network had like a pseudo cancellation in a way, right? Where like HBO Max like kind of took out their content a lot, and WB like kind of dispersed them, but then Cartoon Network said that they weren't, like they weren't going anywhere. It was weird. But they don't need any more negative light being shown on them. So they had to do what they needed to do. I don't think they shouldn't be. If anybody's giving them like any grief or anything like that, I don't think they should. Cartoon Network is.
I'll tell you why people will give them grief. Let's just use Johnny Depp and Amber Heard as an example again, right?
That's a whole nother video.
Everyone who was team Johnny Depp, right, was like, well, why did you fire him? You should have fired him after the court case if he was guilty or whatnot, right? Mm-hmm. So do you really want your name as Cartoon Network to be run into situations where this person is going to be in and out of court, and they're always going to be talking about the bad things that this person did, right? They never talk about the good things. So in the Cartoon Network would look like it was in a negative aspect from people because this person is being associated with X, Y, and Z. And if X, Y, and Z is worse, it is bad. Remember, Cartoon Network is supposed to be, children's programming, right? So even though Rick and Morty falls under Adult Swim, which is the adult version of Cartoon Network, it's still part of the same company. Everyone's going to say Cartoon Network. They're not going to say Adult Swim because nobody knows what Adult Swim is. Most people.
Yeah.
So they're trying to take their name out of the press because they're going to be like, people will be like, well, why didn't you, reprimand him or anything like that? So they figured, you know what? Give him the boot. Well, let's call it a day.
Just, quell the fire before it spreads.
Right. Exactly. Totally.
Yeah. Well, I think we've gotten all of our thoughts down there. To everybody watching, let us know what you think down in the comments below, and we'll be back for the next video. Peace out.
Roll credits.
Roll credits.